What if the reason you're feeling exhausted, unfocused, and less productive is not because you're working too little, but because you're working too much without stopping? Most people believe productivity means pushing harder, working longer, and taking fewer breaks. But psychology tells a very different story. In fact, research shows that taking breaks can actually make you more productive, more creative, and less stressed. So in this video, we're going to explore what psychology really says about breaks and why sometimes the smartest thing you can do for your brain is simply step away for a moment. Let's start with focus and productivity. When people think about productivity, they often imagine long hours of uninterrupted work. The common belief is simple: the more time you spend working without stopping, the more you will accomplish. However, psychological research shows that the opposite is often true. The human brain is not designed to maintain intense focus for extremely long periods of time. Attention is a limited cognitive resource. Just like physical muscles become tired after prolonged effort, the brain also experiences fatigue when it is required to maintain concentration for too long. Psychologists refer to this as cognitive fatigue. When cognitive fatigue appears, people begin to think more slowly, make more mistakes, and lose the ability to concentrate effectively. A well-known study conducted at the University of Illinois explored this phenomenon. Researchers asked participants to complete a long, repetitive task that required sustained attention. Some participants were allowed to take short breaks during the task, while others worked continuously without interruption. The results were clear. Participants who worked without breaks showed a steady decline in performance. Their attention decreased and their accuracy dropped over time. Meanwhile, those who were allowed short breaks maintained a much more stable level of performance. These pauses allowed their attention to recover. This research highlights an important principle. The brain works in cycles of effort and recovery. When we ignore this rhythm and try to concentrate for too long, the quality of our thinking begins to decline. This is one of the reasons structured productivity systems exist. One popular example is the Pomodoro technique, which suggests working in focused intervals of about 25 minutes, followed by a short 5-minute break. Short breaks prevent mental exhaustion from building up and help maintain high levels of concentration over longer periods of time. They also reduce mental saturation. When people repeat the same task for too long, the brain loses sensitivity to the information it is processing. But after stepping away for a few minutes, people often return with a clearer perspective and are more likely to notice mistakes or new ideas. In other words, breaks are not wasted time. They are an essential part of maintaining focus and productivity. Sometimes, the most productive thing you can do is pause and allow your mind to recover. Modern life exposes people to an enormous amount of mental stimulation. Between work responsibilities, constant notifications, and endless streams of information, the brain is often asked to process far more input than it was designed to handle. When we continue working without allowing ourselves to rest, our bodies gradually activate the stress response. This biological system increases alertness and prepares us to face challenges by releasing stress hormones such as cortisol. In small amounts, stress can improve performance. It helps us stay alert and focused. But when the stress response remains active for long periods without recovery, it begins to harm both mental and physical health. Chronic stress is associated with fatigue, irritability, poor concentration, and emotional exhaustion. Breaks allow the nervous system to shift from a stress-dominant state to a recovery state. In biological terms, this means transitioning from sympathetic nervous system activity to parasympathetic activity, which is responsible for relaxation and restoration. Even short pauses can begin this process. Research from Stanford University found that participants who took short walks during mentally demanding tasks reported lower levels of stress and mental fatigue compared to those who continued working without interruption. Stepping away from the task also helps regulate emotions. When people remain in stressful environments for too long, small problems begin to feel overwhelming and frustration becomes more likely. Taking a break allows emotional systems in the brain to calm down, improving self-control and helping people return to their work with a clearer and calmer mindset. Not every break is equally effective. However, activities that continue to overload the brain, like constantly checking notifications, may prevent real recovery. Psychologists often recommend breaks that change mental activity, such as stretching, breathing slowly, looking outside, or taking a short walk. Over time, these small recovery moments accumulate and prevent stress from building up. Taking breaks is not laziness. It is a scientifically supported strategy for protecting mental health and sustaining productivity. Many people have experienced a moment when the solution to a difficult problem suddenly appears while doing something unrelated, such as walking, showering, or relaxing. Psychologists call this phenomenon incubation. Incubation refers to the process in which creative solutions emerge after a person temporarily stops actively thinking about a problem. Although it may seem counterintuitive, constantly focusing on a problem can actually limit creativity. When we work on a problem continuously, our thinking can become rigid. Psychologists describe this as functional fixedness, a cognitive bias that makes it difficult to see alternative perspectives or solutions. In this state, the brain repeatedly follows the same mental pathways instead of exploring new ideas. Breaks interrupt this pattern. When we step away from a task, our conscious attention relaxes and the brain begins to process information in a more flexible way. Neuroscientists often associate this with the brain's default mode network, which becomes active when the mind is not focused on a specific task. This network plays an important role in imagination and creative thinking. During this relaxed state, the brain continues working on the problem in the background. It reorganizes information and connects ideas that might not appear during intense concentration. Research by psychologist John Cunios using brain imaging has shown that many aha moments occur after a brief period of mental disengagement from a problem. Similarly, experiments at the University of California found that participants who took breaks during creative tasks generated more original ideas than those who worked continuously. Creativity often depends on mental flexibility, and mental flexibility improves when the brain has time to relax and explore ideas freely. This is why many writers, artists, and scientists intentionally step away from their work when they feel stuck. These pauses create the mental space where new ideas can emerge. Sometimes the fastest way to solve a problem is not to think harder, but to give your mind the freedom to think differently. In modern work environments, psychologists increasingly study a condition known as burnout. Burnout is more than simple tiredness. It is a state of chronic physical and emotional exhaustion caused by prolonged stress without sufficient recovery. People experiencing burnout often show three main symptoms: extreme fatigue, emotional detachment from work, and a reduced sense of accomplishment. Tasks that once felt meaningful may start to feel overwhelming, and motivation gradually disappears. Psychologist Christina Maslach conducted some of the most influential research on burnout, showing how continuous work pressure combined with insufficient recovery can slowly lead to emotional exhaustion. Today, burnout can affect people in many different environments, including students, freelancers, entrepreneurs, and remote workers. One of the main causes of burnout is the absence of psychological recovery. When people remain mentally engaged with work for long periods without breaks, stress accumulates over time. Eventually, exhaustion appears. Breaks help prevent this process by creating moments of psychological detachment from work. This means temporarily disconnecting from work-related tasks and thoughts. Research in occupational health psychology shows that people who regularly detach from work during breaks report lower emotional exhaustion and greater well-being. One study published in the Journal of Applied Psychology found that employees who took short, frequent breaks during the day experienced higher energy levels and greater job satisfaction than those who worked continuously. These short pauses act as small recovery periods that prevent stress from accumulating. Burnout rarely appears suddenly. It develops gradually after long periods of effort without rest. This is why breaks are essential. They restore mental energy, protect emotional health, and allow people to sustain productivity over the long term. Because productivity is not a short race. It is a long journey, and every long journey requires rest along the way.